So let's look at the final exam instructions. The idea is that you'll reuse all your code from the midterm and you will modify it. So in order to keep them separate, you can, because we didn't use GitHub, you may as well just create a new REPL for the final exam and just bring in all the files. So you can copy the REPL, do however you like, but you want all your files from the midterm. Um, if there's, for your grade for the midterm, if there's feedback, just make those adjustments. It's typically stuff like when you look at your files, every one of them often has the title REPL. We shouldn't have every page in a site have the exact same page title. So just adjust that to page 1 or home page or something. Okay. Um, then get rid of the word midterm because this is no longer the midterm. So there's always the search and replace, right? Or find and replace. So replace midterm with final exam. And we put the midterm instructions that we used as text, in the main part of the home page before. So you can get rid of that and use, the instructions with the scenario that we're having here. So start here and, grab some of this and put that into the instruction space instead. Um, and so that's probably all you need to do for the adjustment for the layout and everything. So what you'll basically do is you'll add a new page. And so this is on purpose written like a business requirements plan or the beginning of the software development cycle where you just have the requirements that come from the customer. The customer typically is not technical, so they don't know how this will be implemented. They just know what they want. And so the customer wants you to modify the existing website that they have and add a new page. That new page will have a tip calculator. So right away, if you go out there with tip calculator, there are several, and there was perfectly good one right there. So basically, there is simple tip calculators and there's more complicated. So to me, more complicated is when you put in the number of people as well and split the tip. We're not doing that. We're just doing bill, so that's your food total. You spend $50.99 and you want to tip whatever. So this one is, we do not want this. This is direct input. We don't want direct input. And we're going to look at that in a minute. This is direct input, obviously, so we want the person to be able to type in how much they spend for the food. But then this here, we will use a different control. And so when you look at, so for example, here is also too complicated because it has the number of people. So always you can, of course, look at these page sources and find out how did they do it. So for example, here it says price. So you can totally, search for price and see there's the label for price. And so these guys did it with a table, but actually no, they did not. Look at that. Form action tip calculator, right? Etc., etc. So some people, what they do is, yeah, there's the end of their little form there. Some people use a table to lay out the form beautifully. You don't have to use a table. The form should look nice, but you have so few fields in it that it's not a big deal. But the idea is, so there's a lot of stuff out there. If you're confused of how they do it, you can look at some of it, of course. Back to the instructions. All right, so now you know what a simple tip calculator is. Simple, no splitting among people. Needs to be accessible from the existing nav, of course, right? So the existing nav, you already have 2 pages, so it needs to be updated on all those pages. So how do you, the page should look just like the other pages do. So that means the tip calculator will be in that main part. Put a caption on top that says tip calculator, sort of like they do, something like that. Shared, that's what is meant by caption, something like this here at the top. Direct entry of the food total, right? Nothing else. So as far as the tip amount, there's 2 ways we can go. So one is called a slider control, right? And the slider control, of course, is out there. So I don't know why I forgot to put that in here, but I mean, you can just look at it. And why am I in Bing? Because that opens my PDF. Slider. Did I just do that? Slider control. How to create range sliders. That's what we want. So something like this, right? And you can have them look like a square or a round or even a picture if you want. And then here's the example. And of course, this is just a tiny example. This is not a big example, right? And then it has additional things. It shows you how to style it. And oh my goodness, it does other things. How about that, right? So that's one possibility. The other possibility, so this is clearly a little bit more complex, plus we've never done it before. So that would be new. If you don't get the slider to work, you can use a drop down. We've used a drop down plenty of times. So this drop down will not allow the person to type anything in. They will just be able to pick. Now the thing with a slider is you can start at a value of, let's say, a 10% tip, and then go to 50, and then whatever they slide in, wherever they stop, even if they stop at 17 or 29, you know, that's just what you'll calculate. Of course, you don't want to type all that in for a drop down. So in the case of a drop down, you just put in values in increments of 5. So 10, 15, 20, 25. That's it. Stop at 50. And then they just choose one value. Either way, and of course you get more points because this is going to be more work and more complicated, plus it's new, whereas this one we've done before, so you pretty much know exactly how to do that. All right, and so then you just use whatever click events, calculate, JavaScript, hint, right, and so on. So here's an example for that, and then also provide some kind of reset button where they can just click it and everything is blank, you know. So that will then include, that's going to be a little bit, the easy way is to clear whatever they've picked, right? Harder will be the, you know, the tip amount where you're displaying what you've calculated. That's going to be harder to clear because the generic reset button doesn't automatically clear that necessarily. Try it, right? And so test this functionality, including the nav. You know, don't overwork yourself on checking the, you know, whether it's accurate. Just use one of these or even this thing here, you know, for the accuracy. And that's the final. And don't overthink it, right? Good luck.